Welcome back to the podcast about movies that is still yet to be named. Hopefully, we'll get it soon. Last week's episode was Parasite. This week's episode, the amazing film, Tombstone. Chris,
Yeah. Hello.
let me hand it off to you since you had not seen this movie before and I have forced you to watch it. What are your thoughts? What's your rundown of the movie?
Uh Overall, I think it is a good movie, decent movie, not a great movie. I think
Woo!
it I think it is enjoyable throughout, but it's just like a typical Midwestern Cowboys movie with a decent plot and a star-studded cast. Like you have fucking Sam Elliott, Bill Paxton, uh, Kurt Russell, Val Kilmer. You have all the big
Michael
guys.
Rooker,
Yeah,
Yondu
whoever,
from
who,
Guardians of the Galaxy.
whoever.
Charlton Heston, Billy Zane from Titanic. The
Yeah,
guy,
so like you have like a big like a super cast like that, and I feel like it's a decent plot, but like
well, it's based on a true story, right?
I've been to the real Tombstone.
Oh, you've been to the real OK Corral?
Yeah, in Arizona.
Yeah, it's very shocking how, at least from the reading I've done, how accurate the movie is. The timelines aren't perfect, but the stuff that happens in it is pretty much accurate. The
And
timelines are just a little fuzzy. They squish it all together like they do in movies. Oh,
and I
Billy
feel
Billy Bob Thornton too.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah,
forgot how to give that a shout out.
I feel like there's a lot of different plots that are brought in that not a lot of them are explored.
True. I will say this though. I will say this though. My only detractors of this film, in my opinion, the main detractor for me is the love story that Wyatt Earp has with, I don't even remember the lady's name that ends up coming in that plays the devil in the play.
The woman from I think she's in also Back to the Future.
She might be, but that's the only part of the movie that kind of slows down to me is like when they're like racing on horses and have like a little picnic.
Yeah.
And then also it's just like Wyatt Earp's supposed to be the good guy, but he's a complete piece of shit to his wife.
Hmm.
But in all fairness, in real life, Wyatt Earp, like when he says like, "Oh, I wasn't perfect when she met her, and she wasn't perfect when she met me," it's because he was a pimp, and she was his working prostitute when they got married. So, but also
Okay.
at the same time, he's just terrible to her. He's constantly looking the other way, like, "Oh, I got to go to work," when his brothers are going back to their wives and staring at the woman flirting with her. Kind of a dick. And then the second that love story, it's kind of doesn't feel necessary to me. And even though it really happened when they're having the shootout with Curly Bill and he like storms out into the water and just walks forward and somehow he can't shoot him.
Uh-huh.
It
Yeah,
seems
when
unbelievable, but it
he's
actually happened.
surrounded and doesn't get hit once.
I know that's the thing. It's so weird. It's like if that was not a true story, I wouldn't believe it. And also
Uh-huh.
the editing of it's a slow motion. No, and he shoots him. That was kind of dumb.
Yeah. I mean,
Those
my
those
favorite
are my two.
character I think is Val Kilmer.
Oh, I mean, to me, that's a top five acting performance of all time. To
I
me,
think he does a great job.
yeah.
He's probably my biggest highlight of that movie.
Oh, far and away is. But this movie to me, I mean, it just might be to me the most star-studded movie ever. Even like small characters with big names, like Ike Clanton's, and I can't remember the actor's name, but he's the main guy in Avatar, the Avatar movies, like the bad old guy. uh John Corbett is just one of the random guys in that movie, which I guess he's not that huge, but he was like in all the
Oh,
My Big Fat Greek Wedding movies. The
Thomas
husband,
Hayden Church
yeah,
is
Billy Clanton,
yeah,
Ike's
who
brother.
yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah, Sandman, you mean?
Yeah. Oh, he's in
Mr.
Spider-Man.
Sandman, yeah. Well, I just the thing about this movie too. Oh, and Michael Biehn from Predator. Uh, he's in Predator. He's in Terminator,
Oh yeah.
and he's Johnny Ringo in this. It's just and then Curly Bill is Powers Booth. But
Hmm.
this movie's just so quotable. It's so quotable. I have like I quote it on like a daily basis. Like when I was in college, me and all my roommates and guys at the bars, we would just like, "I'm your Huckleberry," and like at the bar, well, you're Daisy if you do.
I feel like yeah, but I feel like only quotable person is again is Val Kilmer.
90, yeah, and I wrote down a bunch of the quotes to me that are kind of iconic, and there's only two that aren't Val Kilmer. The only
Yeah.
ones, the other two are Kurt Russell, but he's like, go ahead and skin that smoke wagon. I can see the
Yeah.
fear in your eyes. I can. And then the other one is, your friends may get me in a rush, but not before I turn your head into a canoe.
And I think another thing is like, so I guess do we want to like go through the movie?
Yeah, yeah. You go
All
ahead. You
right.
take over. Sorry, I
So
got overzealous.
yeah. So to start off, the movie starts with Val Kilmer and his girl pretty much robbing the poker saloon, and
Yeah,
then uh they bring in Kurt Russell and all of them. And at the beat, like for the first like 30, 45 minutes of the movie, I thought like they're like some Ocean's 11 ass fucking group, and they're just their entire thing is they just swindle people and just steal all their money. Like where they're getting hundreds and hundreds of dollars in like the 1800s from.
yeah. I'm
Like
assuming that part is not true. That or the at least the amount of money.
yeah, because like they're throwing around. He gave a guy $500. That's like a year's worth of money back then.
Yeah, that's true.
And like I so like I guess like I was kind of thrown off by the fact that like so they're like all U.S. Marshals who are like retired at that point and like they're trying to start a new life, right?
Yeah, I mean the real story is like the real part of it is they moved to Tombstone like everyone did because they found what silver there, so it was just all people like a silver rush.
Uh-huh.
And then the Earps, there's also two other brothers that aren't in the movie. All the Earps moved there because they wanted to get rich off silver. There wasn't really much left by the time they got there, and they started a cattle hauling business. That didn't work. Then they had some saloons and they weren't making a lot of money, like it says in the movie. So they decided to become the sheriffs, pretty much mostly because it paid so good and everyone wanted them to because they were like known as the best sheriffs in the history of ever at the time. So
Okay.
they only did it basically for money. It wasn't like a moral thing like in the movie. That was kind of what's wrong.
Yeah. And like uh so they introduce all those people and then they like yeah get to Tombstone, settle in and everything. And then they introduce the woman. And to be honest, I don't see a point in that woman being in that movie at all because they like the movie it ends with her. It's like she's brought in and like she's an actor like the devil, and but like they don't expand on it at all really. And then she's like, oh yeah, they just like basically insinuate that he's gonna like fall in love with her, and then he does. But like, there's nothing that like really builds it throughout the movie. There's not like a ton of stuff.
I will say I disagree with that because they do like a whole long 20-minute character development part with him where they're sitting and having a picnic and talking about she's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. He's like,
uh,
I guess I'm not an oak.
yeah, she's like, I want room service for the rest of my life. I just want to. move around, and then he's like, he goes to his wife and he's like, I want you to do the exact same thing. And she's like, I'm dying. But the other part,
Everybody's dying apparently.
yeah, that's true. I mean, back then everyone got sick and they didn't have any medicine. But the other part is when Billy Zane, Mr. Handsome, comes in, and then they with her because he's also an actor. I would say that's the part that had no reason to be in the movie, where like that one cowboy's in love with him,
Uh-huh.
and it's like, I don't want to talk to y'all right now. And at the end, he like holds his hand after he's dead, and he's like, I'm not being a bad guy anymore because I loved him. That would there was no development. That should have not been in it at all. But
Yeah.
I agree, the love story though does slow the movie down a bit. I mean, it's a true story, but I think that could have been left out of the movie to make it a
I
little
feel
more
like
entertaining.
this movie to me would have been a lot better if they either focused, they narrowed the scope of it, or they made it longer. I feel like they're trying to like point out too many realistic things about, or like point out like too many like so many realistic plot points about these people's entire lives in like 2 hours, and it just kind of brushed up on a bunch of stuff while only really focusing on one plot. Because then after they meet, then like they're like, I'm gonna be good, or I
I'm
have
a
the all.
good.
I I gave up this life, and then like fucking next scene they're like, yep, I'm back in this life, and
Yeah, you were right. You were right, Wyatt. We should have got back into this, brother.
and then they're back in the business and they're slinging dick, murdering cowboys
Yeah, I
because
mean,
one guy who they met a day before is they're fucking now like somebody who they have to get revenge for.
the sheriff that got shot,
Yeah, yeah,
good old Fred.
yeah.
Hey,
They
Fred
didn't
was a
know
good
him long in
man.
like a week.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter how long they know him when he's like, oh, we're living in this town and we're bleeding it dry. I mean, the story aspect is this is wrong and we need to help this town that we're living in.
That guy got his whole family murdered because of that sheriff.
If you boil it down to that, correct? Yes, you're right.
Except
If you boil it down to that,
for Doc,
yeah, well,
who's not a doctor.
it's just the nickname Doc. You know, Doc. Yeah, yeah. What's up? You got a big cock, Doc. You know, just a nickname. I don't
Uh-huh.
know. I can't remember if he actually was a doctor. I know he did study and he was smart, and that's why he has his whole scene
Yeah,
where he
because
talks on
they talk
Latin.
Latin. Yeah,
In vino veritas.
with Ringo.
Yeah, which is not true because Ringo is like really stupid in real life, apparently. It wouldn't have known Latin. But
And then I feel like the movie just kind of like it just goes over like it escalates very fast from like we're living this new Ocean's 11 life to yep, I would breathe in and die and murdering the rest of the Cowboys. The Cowboys are going down. And I feel like it's a very fast-paced movie and they all die. Everybody dies. Nobody lives. Kurt Russell, ooh, wow, wow, wow. He even dies in the fucking 2 years later, apparently in the credits.
no, he lived until the 19
Oh
uh
wait, no, no, no. Ike dies 2 years later.
yeah, but I mean, it's the old west. Everyone died at like 35 mostly.
Yeah.
Like Billy the Kid, his whole thing, he died at like 19 and he was only like 2 years on the run and he's like the most famous dude ever. But not everyone dies. But I mean, isn't that what you want from a Western? You want high octane, shooting
Yeah,
them's octane.
which what makes it a good film, but to be a great film, I feel like its
Oh,
writing is just not up to today's standard.
oh,
It
the dialogue is so gosh darn good in this movie.
it's 90s level writing.
Okay, okay. You remember when Ike and Doc Holliday are playing poker, and he's like, "Oh, he's been at it for 36 days, 36 hours straight," and he wins 12 hands in a row. And he's like, "That's too much luck for anyone, Doc." He tries to like, and then Doc's like, Wyatt walks in and he goes, "Shouldn't you cool it down a little bit there, Doc?" And Doc's like, "Nonsense. I have not yet begun to defile myself." And then Ike gets mad because he keeps winning and he goes, "Maybe poker's just not your game, Ike." "I know.
Yeah,
Let's try a spelling contest." Tell me that is not hilarious. Oh,
it's funny, but it's just like it was the movie was so 90s for it was generic 90s for me.
what is generic 90s
Like
about it?
I feel like this movie Blast from the or Back to the Future,
That was
uh
80s.
uh there's a lot of like
Did you say Blast from the Past? Did you just bring in
I
Brendan
was
Fraser into
going
this?
I always mix up Blast from the Past and Back to the Future. Uh like not Terminator, but like it's just good. There's like the
See,
way a
that you
story is
can't.
structured
There's nothing
and it
stereotypical 90s
and it's
about
how it
this.
is.
If I was thinking stereotypical 90s, I'm
Oh,
thinking
Top Gun.
that's
Uh,
80s.
okay, it's a stereotypical '80s movie. Then
How is it a stereotypical 80s movie though?
it's a decent written generic action movie with with
Wow.
with then a love story thrown in there.
Okay, the love story,
The,
yes.
they're
That could
just
be
covering all the bases because that's how every movie was back then.
not in the 90s. I would say the love aspect, yeah, because you got all the rom-coms that came out in the 90s, the She's All That's of the world.
Pearl Harbor.
That was 2000s.
Okay, then the '80s, '90s, and 2000s.
So you're just saying, oh, it's stereotypical of three of the best decades in film.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a
Oh my.
good movie, but it's not a great movie.
Let's see what came out at the same time, 90s. I don't know. Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs, Pulp
Nope,
Fiction,
wouldn't
Jackie
put one of his
Brown,
movies in there.
Martin Scorsese had Goodfellas, Casino right then. I mean,
Uh-uh.
if you're gonna say stereotypical 90s, I
Like
mean,
those are just so different than like those are like some of the top.
as is this one.
As is like this is like the standard.
The standard. This is so 90s. No westerns. Westerns were the 50s and 60s with good old Clint Eastwood and John Wayne and who's the other guy I'm thinking of?
Uh
There's another big guy, but that was when the 50s dominated everything, the westerns. Like they made Once Upon a Time in Hollywood talking about it.
yeah.
And for a western to come out in the 90s, okay, there's one thing that is stereotypical 90s about this movie.
Sam Elliott's in it. He's like night the like Western guy.
He's the western guy, but I mean, he's been doing that. He's the voiceover in the Big Lebowski, the dude. This dude was different. But the only thing that was stereotypical 90s about this movie was 100% that the Cowboys wore red sashes, like they're the Bloods.
Yeah, it was the Bloods versus the Crips, but Midwest style.
Yeah, which I think is awesome. I mean, they wish no organized crime. Well, I guess the Bloods and the Crips do it, and well, most do, but I don't understand why they do it. Like, hey, I'm a criminal. Let me show you by wearing this red sash.
Well,
But
I mean, the cops in this movie pretty much were like that. They were like, "We're the U.S. Marshals. We can kill you, and it's okay."
back then it was.
Yeah,
It's if you kill the sheriff, you get to become the new sheriff half the time. It was weird in the Wild West of America. But I mean, let's go to a couple scenes to me that are like two of the best ever, and they're Doc Holliday, Val Kilmer Central, because I think he is like you said, by far and away the best thing in this movie. It's not even close.
yeah,
Is his Latin scene where he's with Johnny Ringo and Johnny Ringo starts flipping his gun around and doing all this crazy stuff. And then Val just does it with his drink, his little cup that he drinks alcohol out of. That was a great scene. Quite
Uh-huh.
funny, well written, a funny idea.
Yeah.
What did you think of that scene? Tell me that. Tell me that's not a great scene.
It was a good
Oh
scene.
my gosh, good. And then let's go forward to the next scene, which I think, in my opinion, I mean the shootout of the OK Corral is great too. But then the in the one of the scenes towards the end of the movie, Val Kilmer can't see his face, and Johnny's leaning on a tree, and he's like, "Well," he thinks Wyatt's coming up, and he's like, "Well, I didn't think you had it in you." And his face emerges from the shadows, smoke coming out of his mouth. I'm your Huckleberry.
Next scene,
Why?
that's like an hour later.
Well, I mean, that's what I say towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
He's like, "Why, Johnny Ringo? Looks like someone just walked over your grave. Fight's not with you, Holiday. I beg to differ, sir. We paid with blood. Remember? Say when." So good. So good. And you're being silent, which means you don't think it was a great scene, do you?
I think that was a great scene.
Good.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about like how cheesy the death right before that was, like Bill Paxton dying.
You were right, Wyatt. You were right.
And fucking he fucking stops breathing mid sentence, goes fucking dies right there.
Wow, are you making an insensitive joke because Bill Paxton's dead in real life?
I love Twister. Better movie than this.
When you think about it, I know this is off tangent. Bill Paxton had himself a run in the 90s.
Yeah, he was great.
He had Tombstone in 93, amazing, one of the best movies ever. Then he goes 3 years later, he's in Twister, a good
This
movie.
movie, I feel like
The next year, he's got Titanic, biggest blockbuster ever.
this movie and Twister not too far off each other. Instead of battling cowboys, they're battling the weather. You have a hot love interest.
Here's the thing. What when you were saying stereotypical 90s, I see Twister as so stereotypical 90s of like disaster movie running away from it, hiding, and like, oh,
What
everything's
other
around to destroy.
disaster movies in the 90s?
What other disaster movies? Shoot. Now I'm about to get held up, but I feel like them like hiding and everything's crashing around them. They're in love and they're, oh, we gotta survive. Oh. I look pretty stupid right now because I can't think of any other disaster movie in the 90s. I could think of a lot in the 2000s. Oh, Titanic is a disaster movie.
Um, Actually, that came out in the 80s.
Titanic?
I have no clue when it came out.
It came out the year after Twister. I believe Twister was 96 and then Titanic was 97.
97. Yep.
And yep, Twister was 96. Twister 63% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
Tombstone 72%,
I think
9%
you'd
better.
agree that Rotten Tomatoes is inaccurate.
Yeah, but I
Because look
mean,
at you pointed out last episode, 98% with
no, it was 99%, I think.
no.
But look,
Man,
if anyone listens to this, you tell me if Parasite is a 99 and Tombstone is a 72, a whopping
I could see that.
27 points below it. No, no.
Tombstone has a non-stereotypical plot that is not seen by every other movie. If you were to, you could have a Chat GPT script get a lot closer to Tombstone than you could ever with Parasite.
Oh my God, dude. You did not just say that.
You might not have Doc Holliday, but you
Well,
could
I
write.
mean, it's hard to compare because Tombstone is essentially a biography of that
Uh
stretch, and Parasite is we're greedy as hell. We're
yeah,
really greedy.
but that's something that happens in today's world.
So you're going the fiction movie. So it has to be about today's world. It can't be a movie about the 1880s.
No, 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 no. I'm saying like that's like something that's happened. Like it's not something like you were saying like oh it's pretty much
Parasite,
like
nothing has ever happened in real life like Parasite.
uh maybe
What
no
family is that rich
no.
and
I mean
dumb, and
no
then they
no
get
yeah
tricked into hiring their entire
yeah
family,
not like that but
and
like
someone's living in the basement, hidden for
the
4 years?
talking points that the parasite was talking about has happened.
A magic fucking rock.
Yeah, I think Doc Holliday's aim was magic.
His what?
Doc Holliday's aim was magic, and fucking Kurt Russell's bulletproof shield that he apparently had around him.
That actually happened though. To be fair, they didn't kill as many people in real life as they show in the movie, but
Yeah, they killed like 100 people.
I don't think it's that many, but it's up there. It's up there. But it's fun. It's like Quentin Tarantino said. It's so entertaining, Jan. Blood and violence is so entertaining. But
Well,
I, I, I just think the amount of quotable lines in that are
yes.
unmatched compared to Parasite. I think the legacy of Tombstone.
Well, yeah, I don't think you could quote Parasite.
I could quote you Parasite.
I no.
I think we could get us another job here. Your son, he's bipolar. So I need to be here 7 days a week. Let's make out with the 16-year-old in high school.
Uh-huh.
Current day. Current day.
Okay, well, we can't put making out with a 16-year-old high school is bad and not say what Doc Holliday said at the end of the movie.
What did Doc Holliday say? What did he say?
He said, "I was in love once, my first cousin."
1880. It's 1880. Remember that. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, known as one of the best presidents ever, he married his third cousin.
Then it's the third, not the first.
1880.
Korea.
Korea?
Yeah, for Parasite.
Yeah, but so what? Koreans in 2019 are allowed to kiss up on 16-year-olds?
I think they do have a lower age of consent.
Well, I guess that's, in all fairness, there's constant murder and clearly some infidelity on Mr. Earp's part because he
Uh-huh.
married a prostitute and then proceeded to flirt with another woman while he was married to said prostitute. So, Wyatt Earp, good guy, good guy.
All I'm saying is, you get me in there, and I could fuck it up. I could ruin Doc Holliday's day. I could have to aim all of them.
Let's throw you back to 1880 with a good old,
They could never think like me.
yeah, he would probably think Tombstone's a great movie.
No, because he'd be like, "This sucks. My entire family and friends died.
Well, we don't really know much about his family.
My
Essentially,
boy got lung cancer next to me."
he got tuberculosis. He moved out to the west because it was drier, so it wouldn't destroy his lungs as much. He would last a little longer. I mean, look, the man got around sleeping with women, gambling all the time, cheating his way through life, killing people. Sounds pretty funny. Sounds like a pretty
Critical.
funny thing. Well, critical condition, he died. It happened. It's the 1880s. I mean, if you throw us in the 1880s, we're dead in a couple days without iPhones and
Not me.
modern
I
medicine.
feel different.
Bring a samurai sword
Uh-huh.
and just slice everyone up.
I win.
Also, I honestly think we should recreate the scene of Johnny Ringo and Doc Holliday at the end. Let's act
Of
it out.
them
Let's act it out.
of them fighting.
Yeah, they're amazing dialogue that you seem to hate.
No, I said that was a great scene. That was the probably top two parts of the movie.
Let's see. Let's see. Let's see if I can find it here. Oh, they have the translation for the Latin scene though on here. In vino veritas means in wine there is truth, suggesting that in the fact being drunk actually makes Doc tell the truth. It is a classical Latin phrase. And then Johnny goes, Aguja agis, which roughly translates, do what you do. Crede Judeas appello no ego. Let the Jew appella believe it, not I. What the hell?
Uh-huh.
These translations must be a little off. That's gonna get me canceled.
This seems like the right move. This seems like the right translations for the movie.
Yeah, but I'm trying to find that last thing because I could do it myself because I've watched it so many times. But I want you to play a character, and I'm trying to. I want to act it out a la Bobby Lee's podcast. Oh, I found part of it, but I'm sorry for the silence, listeners that don't exist. I wanted to get Chris into a little bit of a country accent, Western
No,
accent.
mm, I well,
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 well.
well, I didn't think you had it in you. I'm your Huckleberry.
Uh-huh.
Why, Johnny Ringo? Looks like someone just walked over your grave. Fight's not with you, Holiday. I beg to differ, sir. We started a game we never got to finish. Play for blood, remember? All right, Lunger, let's do it.
I thought when he said play for blood, he was going to spit out blood.
Well, I mean, he was spitting out blood pretty much throughout the entire movie. That tuberculosis was getting him
Yeah,
good.
that TB was kicking his ass.
I know that boy collapsed on that horse.
Yup.
Um, yeah, just everyone dies except for Wyatt.
Yup.
Michael Rooker's like, I saw what they did to your women. I'm not a cowboy anymore. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it.
I I could never.
I couldn't. Then he gets killed.
Yep.
And then he's like, after the scene where he's running through the water, Michael Rooker's like, well, hopefully he has one more miracle in him. And Doc Holliday's like, he's over there down by the creek walking on water. So essentially, what is Wyatt Earp? Jesus Christ.
Jesus. Jesus Cristo.
Okay, so let's look past all the wrong takes you've had about this movie, and let's give it let's give it a star rating.
I'd give it 3.5 out of 5.
Okay, it's honestly better than I thought. I was thinking you're gonna stick at a three. Okay, if I'm going based off how I just think it is purely as a movie, 4 stars. Fun factor, quotability, legendary status, 5 stars.
Jeez.
But that's just like quotability. I think it's One of the most quotable movies.
So
100%.
yeah,
You're daisy if you do.
I think you only judge a movie by how quotable it is in your life.
No, I mean, I don't quote Jaws that much, but I still think it's the best movie ever.
Really.
Any of the like Avengers Endgame, I don't think I quote that movie at all. Except the same quote that's in the first one. I am.
Not your father.
But who could say there's just a lot of movies that are so great you just can't quote. What are you gonna say in your everyday life? Hulk smash? I mean,
Yep.
you
Yep.
could 100% you could 100%. If you're gonna break something, if you're gonna you know what I mean in the a bedroom. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
am I an Iron Man? You can't say that often without looking like a
Mhm.
complete idiot. Just walking down the street, I am Iron Man. But if you're walking down the street and you go, I'm your Huckleberry, the women flock.
Uh-huh. Yep. Sure.
And then you speak to them nice and slow. You're a daisy if you do.
And then, yep.
Someone says something done. Well, just like you're playing basketball with someone, you beat them. Well, it just looks like basketball. It's not your game.
You beat him
I
and
ha-
then you go Hulk smash.
you go, let's try a spelling contest. Kill him. Or, oh, another one you can insert, when he's Billy Bob Thornton, he kicks him out of the bar. He's like, "You're sitting in my seat." And Johnny Ringo's like, "Oh, hi, Johnny. I forgot you were there. You may go now." Just insert anyone's name in your real life and do that. "Oh, hi, Chris. I forgot you
Uh,
were there. You may go now."
Yep.
But you heard it here, folks. We'll have to figure out what episode we're gonna do next week because I don't think we've decided on a movie yet. We rushed into recording this when it appears.
You're like, not today.
Not today, we won't know. We won't know. But Chris is next week. He picks a movie. He'll pick a movie for me that we have not seen. Well, I have not seen. We'll watch it. It's probably going to be Blast from the Past or Twister since I haven't seen that movie since I was
You haven't seen
5.
Twister?
I don't think I've seen it since I was like 5 years old.
What the fuck?
But that's the episode for this week. Goodbye,
Adios, amigos.
biatches. All right.
Good.